This is the last example of 4.4 day 2. It's the third example of writing the equation of a sinusoid. So we talked about these things to consider. What's the y value at x equals 0, period amplitude, reflections, vertical or horizontal shifts. So we're looking at all that different stuff here, and we are going to try to write one more. Now, a couple of things that we should know about here. So we've got amplitude is 3. That means A is equal to 3. Again, it's pretty basic. If we have A is for amplitude. The period here says is 2 pi. That's actually kind of nice because that's the basic period. We don't have to do anything with that. So what that means is that B is going to be equal to 1 if we're talking about the B from these formulas. So we're referring to these formulas up on top if you're wondering where I'm getting the A's and the B's from. All right, then next thing it says here is it reflects over the x-axis. Well, that's just going to put a negative in front of the amplitude number, so we'll have a negative out in front there. But then we also have this point 1, 0. Now, you'd be really tempted to say that that's cosine based on the fact that it's the point 1, 0. But I want you to really think about this. When the point is 1, 0, remember that we have an x and a y point. So I'm not talking about moving up, I'm talking about moving over to the right. So if I've got my graph, this point isn't right here, it's going to be right here instead. So I've shifted everything over. Well, if I shifted everything over and it's coming out of this point to start with, chances are we're going to be talking about a sine graph that was moved over from 0, 0. And so this is going to mean that we're talking about a sine graph that is moved right by 1. Okay, so that's the tricky part about this problem. Knowing all that now, we can put it together. We had the negative and we had the 3 out in front. We just determined that it was sine. And then to make something move right by 1, to make that transformation in pretty much any function, we do x minus 1 on the inside because 1 will make that equal to 0. So that's a tricky one. The point, just make sure you know very well what that point means. If it's a 0, 1, then we're probably talking about cosine, but if it's flipped around, that might just be sine transformed or moved to the left or the right. So please watch for that, and hopefully that will give you enough info to be able to write the equations of these sinusoids.